again. Creepy here. If you are thinking of getting married, then think very carefully. Here are 10 unusual stories of marriage gone wrong. Take heed. Number 1. The best groom. In Ireland, during the 1920s, Albert Muldoon, who was the best man at his friend's wedding, accidentally got married to the bride when he stood on his left of the groom instead of on his right. When the priest saw Muldoon in this position, he addressed all the questions to Muldoon, who duly answered all of them. The slip-up was only discovered when the real groom demanded to sign the register as well. A second ceremony was swiftly arranged. Number 2. The weight of marriage. In Prague, Czechoslovakia, housewife Vera Sezamak was so distraught at her husband having an affair that she threw herself out of the window of her third-floor apartment, landing on her husband and killing him instantly. She survived, however, after his body cushioned her fall. Number 3. Her identity. In California, USA, in 2000, 32-year-old Joshua Maret Mutuma was arrested after he was caught impersonating his own wife. His recently estranged wife had put out a restraining order against him, and Joshua was so upset that he went to the courthouse dressed as his wife, complete with a wig and a high falsetto voice, and tried to con the law clerk into revoking the order. Number 4. Ingratitude. In Petaluma, California, USA, in January 1999, Mrs. Jenny Yole, age 28, was arrested for murder after she stabbed her husband in the back with a 13-inch knife. Apparently, Mr. Yole walked into the house carrying 2 bouquets of flowers for Jenny, who suddenly went berserk when she found out how much he had spent on the flowers and instantly attacked him. Jenny later stated, "I made a huge mistake. I was crazy." Number 5. The wrong woman. In Ohio, USA, in 1997, 69-year-old Mr. Joseph Paligi married the wrong woman. Paligi insisted that when he married Carly Buchanan, he had actually intended to marry Carly's 83-year-old mother, Lucille. It took him 2 years to notice that the marriage certificate had the wrong name on it. Carly, however, stated that the marriage was consummated on the first night. Number 6. Mean Lucky Man. In Brightingsea, Essex, England, in 1995, 28-year-old Eric Lecomte won £400,000 increasingly maddened by his wife's untidiness, and over the course of his 26-year marriage had gradually taken over all the household chores. He finally lost control when his 63-year-old wife, Erica, put mustard on the wrong side of his plate as he sat to eat his sausage and mash. Corlett then rose from the chair and strangled his wife to death. He later stated, "She knew I liked my newspaper on one side of my plate and my mustard on the other." Number 8. The Loving Husband. In Leicestershire, England, Mrs. June Cooper, who died after a long illness, was buried 300 miles away from her home in a pauper's grave because her husband refused to pay for the funeral. Donald Cooper also refused to attend his wife's funeral, saying, "You can throw her in the river for all I care." Neighbors of Cooper described him as weird, nasty, and foul-mouthed. Cooper later stated, "I know I'm being a bastard, but I'm just being honest." Number 9. The Small Print. When Mrs. Martin Van Butchel died, her will stated that all of her huge fortune had to be passed directly to a distant relative the moment I am dead and buried. To get around this, Mr. Van Butchel totally refused to bury her. He had her body embalmed, dressed in finery, and displayed to the public every weekday in the drawing room of his house. Number 10. Hell. In Chelmsford, England, Stephen Barry divorced his wife, Carrie, after she refused to have sex with him for 5.5 years because it was a grave assault of her body. Carrie, a devout Jehovah's Witness, would also rub a banana into Stephen's face and force tea leaves down his throat. Stephen was then forced to put a lock on his bedroom door, but after she attacked him with a fork and put needles in the carpet, he could take no more. The Court of Appeal held up the divorce on the grounds of her extraordinary and maybe incredible behavior. I hope you have all learned a little something about what can happen when you get married. As for me, I am just a deformed bear, so instead of marriage, I will continue to spend a day rubbing trees with my big hairy ass, clawing and biting my mate, and grunting and snarling. Then that's it for another